In this video, it's a quick update on my Toyota Camry. At the end of the last video, we saw it spitting coolant all over the floor. So do we know what that was? And there's also a few other things. So let's dive in. So here we go, let's jump under the bonnet. I will be doing a full review of this car, like in the same sort of format as my usual style. But you can see much evidence of it spewing coolant out here. But if we pop this off, which should be okay because the engine's not that hot, we can see the level is way above where it should be. That should be the full point. So you've got all this for expansion. So it could well be it's just spluttering it out of the overflow. It certainly looks like that's what's happening. I hope there's enough antifreeze in there. Temperature has been hovering just above freezing at home. Yeah, that's going to have to be a priority, I think, to get that done. Let's get some leaves over here while we're here. Well, why don't we? But I think that's what's happening on. What is going on, rather. I did wonder if somebody had used Radweld or some sort of nasty. If we take that out for a moment, it certainly looks like, yeah, there's some sort of coppery nastiness in there. But the coolant itself actually looks quite pink, so that's encouraging. That does suggest it has actually got some coolant in it. But I think I might just pull some out to get us back down to the maximum. We haven't had it spurt out noticeably anymore since then, but it is still quite damp down here. So I think I might check the level and then we'll clean all this up. So if we get more spurtage, if you pardon the expression, we can deal with that. There's no sign of head gasket failure, so if I take the oil cap off, it's grim. It desperately needs an oil change, I think, and that is sort of in progress. I'm waiting for the engine oil to turn up, but there's no signs of mayo on the dipstick or on the oil cap, so I don't think it is head gasket failure. And I mean, there's definitely something not right there, because coolant shouldn't be staining like that, I don't think. So maybe someone's chucked something in it to try and deal with a head gasket issue, or maybe it was just filled with coolant and just bubbled through. It's still burping itself out of air effectively. But yeah, someone spent a lot of money on this car this year. Apparently it had the timing belt replaced, and I think the water pump. And you look at the MOT advisories, it had an MOT advisories for rear brake pipes. That work has all been done. There are invoices for that work. The total is something like £700 when you factor in the labour, VAT and everything, our tax. So someone spent a lot of money on it and then got rid of it. That's the slight concern I have. But like I say, I've done over 300 miles in this car now, and it doesn't seem to be doing anything wrong. But you're never entirely sure. Front screen wash. Let's talk about that. That might have been my fault. If we go and head in, let's jump in. It gets me out of the cold for a start. Ooh. So here is the stalk for the windscreen washers and wipers. The rears and the fronts. So the fronts you cycle up and down. The rears you twist there and look intermittent and permanently on. We do not see that enough on these. And if you squirt down, it operates the rear washer and then sets off. They're on a timer, like the front ones. Sets off a wipe pattern. But you can also access the washer while you've got the wipers on if you feel the need as well. Very Japanese. But what I hadn't realised is this is not operating the screen wash. That is actually your flick wipe, your mist function, which I do like on a car. I use that feature a lot. But if we come around here, here is a subtle clue. It's actually a windscreen washer button, so that's how you operate the front screen wash. It was my fault. The screen wash does work. I'm not going to do it now because I'm going to top up the screen wash with some actual screen wash. I think it's just pure water at the moment. But I have fitted new wiper blades, you'll see already. So we've got new Bosch blades on the front, spoiler on this side, because they were wiping okay, but they were juddering a bit. And that is not acceptable, not given how refined the rest of the car is. But everything seems to work. The aerial on the radio is not very good. Betty the Fairmont has a much better aerial, and can even get a signal near Carmarthen, which this apparently can't. But I need to dig my cassettes out. We've got a Logic control deck going on. I think we need to try that. I think this is because in Japan you would have had a double DIN head unit, very, very common in Japan. Or possibly a CD auto changer. But this is a fairly lowly spec, hence the cloth trim. and the fact we haven't got features like cruise control. There is no cruise control on this car, and no buttons for the radio on the steering wheel. That is something I am missing, but that'll all be in my future review video. And we'll see the mileage has gone up a fair bit. On Friday night we hit 55555, and now we're on 55700, so it is going up, but the mileage all checks out. I think the condition of the car and the paperwork, the MOT history, all backs up for this is genuine mileage. I think it was on the road till 2001, so 5 years initially, and then came off the road for whatever reason for 5 years, and then, or 4 years possibly, and so there is a big gap in the history, even on the MOT history. But before that, it was doing a few hundred miles a year, and then when it came back on the road in 2004, I think, or it might be 2007. I need to get the history out, but there is a big gap, and then he got used more heavily and was doing sort of 6,000-7,000 miles a year, but still remarkably low miles. And the automatic gearbox I like, but we'll talk about that in a future video. That all seems to be super smooth. In fact, I've just noticed, there's an overdrive button down there. I hadn't noticed that. That must be how you lock out top gear then. Interesting, because you'll note it goes D2L. And one of the things I hate is where's third gear? Quite often if I'm belting into a bend, and there's quite a lot of them in Wales, I do this in Betty all the time. I just knock her down into third, just for a little more engine braking, a bit more security. So that's an interesting discovery right there. I would love to know what these are for. Blanking plugs ahoy. But yeah, we've got a little cubby box here, which I tend to chuck my mobile phone in, and a distinct lack of cup holders. Look, we've just got this little tray. But here's where it gives you the tyre pressures. That's quite good information to have there. I might check those today. Let's see, where are we? Up to 4 people, 36 front and 41 rear. And I don't think we're going to be going over 160 kilometers an hour. That is 100 miles an hour. Let's just check the tyre pattern. 205, 65 R15s. It says, remember I reported the speedometer overreads quite dramatically. What have we got? Sport blue response. These are Dunlop tyres. Again, decent enough tyres, but it has got the correct 205 65 R15s on, and a decent amount of tread. So that's where we are. Rear wipers. Got some slight issues, but I might try and lubricate these hinge pivots a bit, because that's not what's meant to happen. The springs are meant to actually hold the blades against, but I've got new blades on order as well, because they're not wiping quite as they should. I will say the Hubnuts are absolutely loving this aspect of the car. They are loving the rear facing seat, and while I'm a little uncomfortable with them traveling in what effectively is the crumple zone, they seem to love it. And yeah, that's good. This little bit of trim does keep coming out of there. That's not sitting in there very happily, and the boy has been messing with this. I told him to leave this alone. That's where the space saver spare wheel lives on the 7-seaters. The 5-seaters have it under the floor in this area here. You'll notice there's a little box there, and if I flip this over, that contains the jack and some tools. But that's just, and McDonald's wrappers. Blooming kids. One day I will manage to get them to take all their detritus with them when they get out of the car. But yeah, it all just works really, really well. And you'll note when you've got the rear seat folded up, there's this little hook and tab which holds the luggage cover up and keeps it out the way of the seat. Just so many lovely little details. But yeah, just very impressive. It's such a well thought out car, right down to those twin rear wipers. So yeah, it's going really well so far. Like I say, we haven't had a repeat. I'm going to take a bit of coolant out. I might clean the rear arches out and spray some wax around, because wax isn't going to cure this, but maybe we can slow it down a bit. And the same goes for the bubbling around here. I might even pick a bit of paint off, or try and get that dried out. Get some rust converter in there and some wax. Just maybe we can encourage a bit of wax. Wrong time of year, it's all cold, the rubber's rock hard, but it'd be nice to do something just to slow that down until we can deal with it. Because if this car is to become a keeper, I think I would schedule it in for some body work next summer. We've got the GSA away at the moment, Earlier, the 2CV is still waiting, sorting out. Apologies to Matt, who's off to come and weld that. We just haven't had a chance to really crack on with that yet. But it's getting to the stage we might just have to do something, just even if it's just to tide her over for the winter, just to tidy up that corner and make it metallic again. Daihatsu, we're stimmied on at the moment. I would like to get it up and running again, even in the short term, but this coolant gasket has ripped. I have no idea how long it's going to take us to get another one of those. This is kind of the downside of owning rare cars. I love rare cars, but then the parts become an absolute pain. So spoilt with a 2CV because I can get every part I want for this. Inner rear wings, sills, doors, you name it. You can get absolutely everything. Every mechanical part you could imagine I can get for the 2CV. But other cars, not so much. The multiplier is still here. We're still trying to work out the logistics to get that to its new home. There's a slight possibility, if I actually have time, I might take it on one last hurrah and drive it to its new home. But I already know that the next owner will probably be stripping some of the hideousness off this car. But I think that needs to happen. Miss Hubnut and Little Miss Hubnut are gutted because they love the look of this thing. And I must say I do as well. This chrome wrap I find absolutely hilarious. But it's limiting its potential. Most people don't want such a ridiculous looking car. Remember that this was on eBay. Anyone could have bought it. And only one idiot did, and that was me. Yeah, that is a problem. Foxanne is booked in for MOT in January. I had to push that back because when I was meant to be MOTing her, I was actually off gallivanting in the Toyota Camry. I've just remembered this needs a new exhaust back box. Very hard to find here, but I'm told Rock Auto in America do an awful lot of spares for these, and apparently spares are also fairly plentiful in Australia. So once again, I've managed to buy something that isn't exactly ideal. Miss Hubnut loves reminding me that we were after a nice practical family wagon with great part support and superb economy, and I bought this. But you know, you got to dream a bit, haven't you? I mean, in a way, I feel like we're in the last realms of the petrol car, with enjoyable big V6 engines. 3 litre in this case, and yes, it only does 27 mpg. We found out on the first tank to tank, but I just love driving it, and I love driving something that is so very, very different. But the rot is highlighting one issue. You don't see these anymore, but to be honest, the other one was when values sank low, these just got exported because they're so hardy and so long-lived that they just went to countries like Africa and carried on a life over there. So they are very rare over here now. I've already had an owner of one get in touch, and he's going to hope to bring it to the Hubnut Social. So maybe this will be our steed for that first one in April. April seems so far away. It'll come round quickly. Which cars aren't here? Giselle's still away being welded. They've got a lot on, so it's not like they're working on Giselle constantly. They've got a lot of other jobs as well. And to be honest, with so much salt on the road, I'm not complaining. I'm in no rush for that car. I don't wish to add to their stress with asking them to rush. So Giselle is staying away. Betty's at home. Betty's still going fine. The transmission seems to be working mostly of late, but she hasn't moved since Wednesday because we've been driving around in this. So I need to take her out for a run. But yeah, it's not like I'm going far at the moment. Family trips are what it's all about. I'm not getting out and doing road tests and stuff. It's just not a good time of year for doing that. The roads are horrendous. Yeah, we will get more done. But that's where we are. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that came out in that initial video that I was going to talk about, but I don't think there was. So I'm just going to drain a bit of coolant today, suck it out, put it in a bucket or something, and top up the screen wash with actual screen wash. And that'll be good. Always good. So there we go. I'm very happy. This is like my Christmas present to myself, and yeah, I really am happy, and that's good because I've been not happy lately. But this car, just parking it up and looking at it makes me happy. I'm really pleased with it. So yeah, I'm going to crack on with stuff, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Farewell. I'm always going to be finishing on the rear wipers now, aren't I? Always.